let's go to the naive Bayes model. Naive Bayes will be the let's say a basic, the starting point for text mining algorithms. It performs very well, but to understand the intuition behind text classification, it's a good model to start with. That's why we start here. So we are basically saying here, this is called a class conditional language model. So what we are saying is that the probability of each class is given as a class-specific unigram language model. So this particular class, let's say this is a travel category or this is a spam category. We know that it is a spam email if the word your life will, life gets better or some word or phrase occurs. So and this is a unigram model. We are not taking multiple words here. We say that probability of a class is dependent on probability of occurrence of individual words, certain individual words. So that is what is the model here in naive Bayes. So in terms of formally to state that we have a set of labeled documents, okay, and we all the classes are assumed to be mutually exclusive. This is a limiting assumption. We'll expand that later. But for now, we'll assume that if something is an article about travel, then it cannot be an article about, let's say, entertainment. So classes are mutually exclusive. So class 1 and class 2 here, two classes. And with each class, there is a vector of words. That's why it's shown in bold. Class 1 is dependent on these four: pet, dog, milk, and cat. Whereas, whereas this class is dependent on eat food, dry milk, bread. Okay. Multiple classes like that. So the basic method for naive Bayes classifier is this, where we are looking at the maximum probability among all classes. This argmax is just saying maximum probability among all classes. How is that probability computed? You take the initial probability of a certain class, okay, and multiply it with the probability of a word given this class. So your document has a set of words and a possible set of classes, let's say spam, no spam, and all the words in your email. So probability of spam emails, of all emails that come in, maybe 5% are spam. I'm just throwing a hypothetical number. Maybe 95% are spam and 5% are not spam. Okay, some number. So that initial probability is this PCJ. J is the class, number of classes. So that multiplied by conditional probability that this word occurs if it is that class. If you multiply that for all the words and all the classes, in this particular thing we are taking a certain class J and computing this entire quantity, and do that for every class. Of them, whichever is the class that maximizes this probability will be assigned to your word, because we said classes are mutually exclusive. So you have a query string which is your X, and it has n words, okay, something which starts with our and ends with text, these n words, and you're conditioning all the n words on the same class CJ. You're taking the probabilities of these, multiplying all of them, and then multiplying with the probability of class CJ. That number is the likelihood that this particular query string belongs to that class. You do that computation for every class, and of all those classes, you take the class that maximizes this quantity, argmax. Is that clear, Upendra? You with me? That is the basic method of using naive Bayes. The problem is that there are still too many possibilities. So what we mean by that is that your query string, if it has 1,000 words, if your query email that you're trying to classify into spam and no spam has 1,000 words, then you need 1,000 probabilities, 1,000 multiplied by 2. Our comes in spam, our comes in no spam. Like that, you need 1,000 multiplied by 2, 2,000 probabilities to compute this function. Correct? And it also, as you can see, is assuming that classification is independent of the position of the word. We are only saying that this word is occurring. We are not saying where it is occurring. And that is called the bag of words model. Bag of words, the characteristic is that the relative position of the word doesn't matter. We are only interested in whether the word occurs or not in a particular class. So the way we would do this calculation is, from the training corpus, extract all the unique words. Vocabulary is the dictionary, unique words. And calculate required PCJ and PXKCJ, where XK is every word in this vocabulary, CJ is every class. Okay. Then, after you calculate this, and for each CJ in C, you do documents J are the subset of documents for which the target class is CJ. Subset of documents for which the target class is CJ. We are now talking about training set here. Naive-Bayes is a supervised algorithm. Right? So, probability of CJ, this quantity, is number of docs in the class J, size of these docs in class J, divided by the size of total documents. Yeah? So 3 out of your 10 documents are spam. So 3 by 10 will be your PCJ. Text J is a single document containing all docs J. So you would take all the spam documents. J is, let's say J is equal to 1 will be spam and J is equal to 2 is no spam. So you take all the spam docs, concatenate them into a single document, and we are calling that as text J. For each word XK in vocabulary, NK is the number of occurrences of XK in text J. You take your vocabulary, from vocabulary take every word. How many times does this word occur in text J? Text J is the concatenation of all the documents in that class. That number is NK, and your PXK given CJ is calculated as NK plus 1 divided by N plus vocabulary. NK plus 1, why? Because NK may be 0. You do not want to have 0 probability for that word. That's why you are doing a plus 1. Okay? And divided by N plus vocabulary, size of vocabulary. Is that calculation easy? How much time does it take to do this? Let's say in big O notation, let's say to take PCJ. You have the number of documents divided by number of documents of class J divided by total number of documents. So this is just one scan through each document, one look at each document, because we know the label of that document. So if there are D documents, it's order D type.
If we do, is class, right?
Document is like an email. Class would be whether it's a spam or not. So let's say if you have 10 documents, okay, 10 docs and 2 classes, what we do is we keep a counter for each class. Let's say N1 and N2, and initiate both of them to 0. Look at each document's class. If it is of class 1, then you increment this counter. If it is of class 2, you increment this counter. By the time you are done with all 10 documents, you just have 2 numbers, which is the numerator there, number of docs of class J. Denominator is anyway known as 10. So it's order 1 calculation after that. So all it takes is one scan through the documents, which is order D. if capital D is the number of documents. To calculate this first number, PCJ. What's the complexity for this second one? Let us assume that D is the number of documents, V is the size of the vocabulary. Okay, D is the number of docs, V is the vocabulary size. You have the text J, which is a concatenation of all the emails. Okay, so in that text J, you would take a word, you would look at whether it, you would take a word from the vocabulary and you would look at whether it is in text J or not. Let's say length of text J, that file, is n words. Okay, length of text J is n words. So you take each word in the vocabulary, see if it is there in text J or not. Then take the next word, see if it is there in text J. So for each word, it takes n comparison operations if you are doing this, brute force. So if there are V words in the vocabulary and there are n words in text J, then V multiplied by n is the total number of operations needed. Yeah, if you're doing this by brute force. And then what you would return is this. Once you have computed PCJ and PXICJ, all you need to return is the multiplication of this. Compute this thing for each CJ and then return the class with the maximum. That will be your naive Bayes classifier. The problem is underflow. If there are 1000 words, you are essentially multiplying 1000 factors, 1001 actually, because you have PCJ also initially. PCJ multiplied by PX1 conditioned on CJ, PX2 conditioned on CJ, etc. Right? If there are 1000 words, you have 1001 terms being multiplied. All these terms are between 0 and 1, all are less than 1. So when you multiply so many words less than 1, you get an underflow, numeric underflow. Hence, you don't do multiplication, you convert it into logs and just add them. This is nothing but a logarithm of PCJ multiplied by PXICJ. You have taken a log, so you can add all the log terms. Yeah? And the argmax. So class with highest final unnormalized log probability score. That's what all those words mean. It's log probability, you have just taken a log. And it is unnormalized because you are not, see, if I is a position, we said that this particular email has 1000 words. If another email has only 75 words, it has only 75 factors. So ideally, you need to have some kind of a normalization because, in this case, the argmax will prefer longer emails, isn't it? Because every word in the email is adding something to this quantity. So if I have a 10,000 word email, even if the individual probabilities of those words for the given class are very low, just the fact that it is a 10,000 letter email will make it a spam. So there needs to be some kind of normalization. We are not yet talking about normalization here. We are saying that unnormalized log probability score, whichever class that maximizes this, will be assigned by the naive Bayes classifier. Just a sum of weights. This is just a sum of weights. So that's the practical naive Bayes classifier. This I is the positions, which is x1, x2, x3, if there are 1000 words, then 1000 positions, and C is the classes. So interpretation of this is that each of these is an indication of how good an indicator xi is for Cj. If the word, life appears in the 10th position, how good is an evidence, how strong is an evidence how strong is that an evidence of the email being of a certain category, email being spam. And the prior is a weight that indicates the relative frequency of the class. We said this, right? If the classes are equally frequent, spam and no spam occur equally, then you don't need this term. This gets cancelled out in the argmax. But if they are very different frequencies, cancer, no cancer, where 0.001 for one and 0.999 for the other, then you will have a substantial weight of the prior probability. And the time for this is, if you look at the average length of a document D, you're multiplying with the average length of a document D, length of the document multiplied by number of documents plus number of classes and size of vocabulary. This is the total number of words and the number of, and the average length of a document. And what we had talked about before, just written more formally. And this is during training time. What is the training time here? Knife base, what is the training stage and what is the testing stage?
Training time is PCJ.
Yes. Training time is when you are computing these two quantities, your PCJ and your probability of xk given Cj. When you're computing these individual probabilities, that is the training stage. The testing stage is when you get a new query string, you are doing a summation of the log of this plus log of this. That is the testing time. You understand what I'm saying? We said pk and cj, we had said probability of xk given cj. What is the xk? Each word in the vocabulary. The total vocabulary set, each word in that. That's what we are looking at. So you pre-compute these things. Your vocabulary is fixed. When you get a query document, that the words in that will also be from the same vocabulary set. So you do not need to compute this at the testing time. You could pre-compute and keep it. Yes? So the training time will involve computing of PCJ and computing of this. This is your training time. Your testing time is now you got your test vector, test email, let us say, for which you do not know the label. You have to go through each word of that test label. So you are having LT, which is the length of the test document, each of those. And then you will need to condition it on CJ. You will need to look up this value. This value is already computed because all the words are there in the vocabulary. But how many values do you need to look up? It is number of words in the test vector multiplied by the number of classes. Probability that a certain word occurs in spam and probability that a certain word occurs in non-spam documents. That is what this number is. Number of classes multiplied by length of the test document. In this much time, because this is the total number of quantities you need. Once you have these quantities, it's just a log summation, which is a order one time operation. So testing time is this and training time is. Are you okay with this? So testing time really is dependent on, since the number of classes will be small compared to the length of the documents, length of the input. Testing is as fast as just going through the test document once. Right? If C is much smaller than LT, C can be considered as a constant. Correct? So testing time is equal to length of the test document. What about training time? If C is small, its vocabulary size and this LD. So in both of the cases, if this number C multiplied by V, number of classes multiplied by number of words in the vocabulary, if that is much smaller than the actual total data size multiplied by size of one document, this number is likely to be much bigger. Correct? We had said that in an earlier example we had taken, the vocabulary size was 500,000 words, whereas you had a million documents, each one with 1,000 words. That if you look at since words get repeated in the training set, this value D is much bigger than V. Correct? And length of the average document is certainly much bigger than number of classes. So this quantity is much bigger than this quantity. Hence, if you ignore this quantity, then the training time is like going through all the documents once. The time taken for both training and testing is linearly proportional to the time need to just read that data. At the training time, you read more data. You read all the training documents that are given to you. But at the testing time, you read only the test document that comes in. So testing is much faster. Even training is quite fast. It's only reading it once.
But for finding the probability of the probability of the word in the test document, for that we have to find it out in some. We have to keep the probability of all the words in a document in some table. So we have to search it.
Absolutely. So there is a storage there. For each word, for each class, you need to put a probability value. You need to store the probability value. So if you have V words in your vocabulary and C classes, V multiplied by C matrix of probabilities must be stored. But which is okay. Reason is because you are anyway storing the words. Let us say for each word, you are currently, the average size of a word is, let's say, 8 bytes. Okay. You are currently putting 8 bytes anyway. You are saying, in addition to this, if I have 2 classes, I also need to store 2 floating point numbers. Right? Which will be another 2 8-byte numbers. So it is only linearly increasing your storage. There are 2 types of naive-Bayes methods, naive-Bayes models. The base naive-Bayes we have seen, right? And you understand the algorithm and you know that it's a fast algorithm. Now we look at 2 variants of the naive-Bayes. The first one is called multivariate Bernoulli. It's a naive-Bayes variant where we say that there is one feature for each word in the dictionary. In the vocabulary, there is one feature, and this feature is either true or false. It's a binary feature. XW is true in document D if W appears in D. Yeah? So, if your vocabulary has 1,000 words, and if you think of a 1,000-dimensional vector with ones and zeros, if a word occurs in a document, then it becomes a 1, otherwise it's a 0. So a binary vector for each document. The length of the binary vector is the length of your vocabulary. Yeah? The assumption underlying this is that given a document's topic, appearance of one word in the document tells us nothing about the chances that another word would appear. All words are independently occurring in the document. This is an assumption that the multivariate Bernoulli makes. The second variety is called the multinomial, which is the same as we talked about class conditional unigram when we started with naive-Bayes. Here we have one feature xi for every word position in the document. This is what we have been discussing so far, where we have the log summation. We said I is for positions, right? So for every word position in the document, we have a feature xi. Value of xi is the word in position I. Yeah. this feature, the value of the feature is the word itself. In multivariate Bernoulli, each feature was binary. We had only 1 or 0. Whereas here, it's not a binary thing. Each feature's value is the word itself. And the assumption of the naive Bayes is that if in one position one word occurs, it says nothing about another word appearing in another position, or even the same word appearing in another position. Previously, in multivariate Bernoulli, our assumption was that if one word occurs, it says nothing about whether another word will occur. Here we are extending that, saying that if one word occurs in one position, it tells us nothing about what happens in another position or another word. The second assumption is that word appearance does not depend on position. I mean, we are saying that the likelihood of word X occurring in position, let's say 10, is the same as the likelihood of word Y occurring in position 10. Certain words are not likely to appear in certain places, not more likely to appear in certain places. Word appearance does not depend on position. So the probability of xi is equal to w for this particular class is equal to the probability of xj is equal to w. So the word w is equally likely to occur at the position I or position j. This is the second assumption we make for a class condition, multinomial. Multivariate Bernoulli and multinomial, two varieties of naive Bayes. We are summarizing that here. Multivariate Bernoulli, the model is this: xw is equal to true. T stands for true there. xw is equal to true for this particular class. This is what multivariate Bernoulli captures. Fraction of documents of topic Cj in which the word w occurs. Because we are not saying about which position that word occurs. So, if I have 10 documents of travel and all 10 of them are talking about, let us say, are using the word travel, the category is travel, they are using the word travel, then my probability there will be 1. Yeah, the travel is true, travel occurs in this class travel will be true. Whereas in the multinomial model, we do the probability that xi is equal to w for Cj. This is the fraction of times in which word w appears among all words in documents of topic Cj. So if your travel documents, I mean your class is Cj, which is, let's say, travel, you have 10 documents. These 10 documents together have, let's say, 20,000 words. There may be repetitions in these words. We want to know the fraction of these 20,000 words that are travel, the word travel. Okay? Travel has occurred 478 times in these 20,000 words. So that probability will be 478 by 20,000.
In multivariate.
In the multinomial. In the multivariate, we are only looking at whether the word travel is present or not. Out of the 10 documents, all 10 of them have the word travel. How many times did the word travel occur? We are not looking at. Whereas when you take position, then word appears among all words and documents of topic Cj. Total docs, let's say we have 500. These are emails. Okay? Out of which 100 are spam, 400 are not spam. Okay? Spam is class 1, not spam is class 2. Let us assume. Word we are interested in is great. Just one word, great, we are interested. First, let us take the multivariate context. Multivariate Bernoulli. Fraction of documents of topic Cj, we are interested in this class, this word, C1 and this one. Fraction of documents of spam, topic C1, in which word great appears. How many documents of C1 are there? 100. Out of these 100, how many of them have the word great? Let us say some 70 of them have the word great. How many times great appears in it is immaterial. So, multivariate Bernoulli, the probability will be 70 by 100. 70 documents out of these 100 contain the word great. Whereas in multinomial, what we do is, we take these 100 documents, concatenate them, 100 emails, and concatenate them into one mega document. Let us say the size of the mega doc for spam class is equal to 40,000 characters. Okay? Is that clear? We have taken these 100 and concatenated. Out of these 40,000 characters, how many times does the word great appear? Okay. Let us say, it is occurring in 70 documents we know out of the 100. But how many times? Maybe in some documents it appears a lot, some documents it appears less. So let us say out of the 400 times it appears some 40,000, out of the 40,000 words, characters, I'm sorry, this is words. There are 40,000 words when you concatenate. Out of the 40,000 words, let us say 600 of them are the word great. So you have, your estimate there will be 600 by 40,000. This will be your multinomial estimate, this will be your multivariate. Is that distinction clear? You know most of these. So how would you do feature selection is the question. Two possible ways of doing feature selection. One, now we have said that when you are doing naive Bayes, you know how to calculate the probabilities. There are two ways of doing probabilities. You will decide whether you want to do naive Bayes with multivariate or naive Bayes with multinomial. You can make that choice. If the number of times a word occurs is important to you, which one would you choose? Multivariate or multinomial? Multinomial. Multinomial you will choose if the number of times a certain word occurs is important to you. If it's not important, if just the occurrence or non-occurrence of the word is important, you will use the multivariate. But in both cases, you know how to calculate probability of Cj, probability of xk given Cj, and how to assign a new document to a certain class, the argmax logarithm summation. So you know how to apply naive Bayes. Now we would like to come to, before you apply the now, what did we said in a previous slide that naive Bayes is a good thing to do because you are accumulating evidence from multiple words in the document. Those methods that only take word by word are not good enough. It's good to accumulate evidence. So naive Bayes is something that accumulates evidence, that's a good thing. But that needs to be applied after you do feature selection. Right? You don't want to apply naive Bayes with a lot of irrelevant features. So how do you do feature selection is the question. Right? So, I just want to put our discussion in context. We got a piece of text, okay, text docs, many text docs we got, and we put all of them through a list of pre-processing steps. Everyone remembers what these steps are, right? So we put them all through a list of pre-processing steps, and we are now trying to compute we are now trying to classify. Okay? This is a classification through supervised training set. We have a training set, so this is supervised classification, and text docs after pre-processing, and you have the class labels which are given by the human being, and you applied the naive Bayes here. You applied the naive Bayes. When a query document comes in, you would put that also through the pre-processing. And you know how to feed it into the naive Bayes and get a class label out for the query document. We have taken care of both of these. Now what we are trying to do is, after the pre-processing, we would like to add a step here of feature selection. The reason is because there are too many features. This is a high dimensional space, and when you are using naive Bayes, if you have a lot of irrelevant features, you may do it's a low bias classifier, so you may not do a very good job. So we want to bring down the number of features.